Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Thought I would do a quick update on the car. It's been quite a while since I've done any kind of updates. The car's come quite a long way in the last year or so. Probably the last 2 years, it's been really busy. So to start with, it's a 94 Mustang GT. I bought it about 10 years ago. It was bone stock down to the air filter. First thing I did was swapped in a heads cam intake and a vortech supercharger within about the first week. That didn't last long. I blew that up pretty quick. Built a 331 stroker. Realized pretty quick that that wasn't going to handle the amount of power I was looking to make. So swapped that out to a 351. It currently has a 1995 F250 351 Windsor. It's a roller motor, of course. I had a local shop, Mattingly's Machine in Bardstown, Kentucky. He went through the motor. I had him do TRW forged pistons, Hellfire rings, Eagle rods, stock crank, ARP boats, Canfield 192 heads, Trick Flow R intake, Trick Flow stage 2 cam, 90mm throttle body, vortech SI trim, about currently 15 pounds of boost, stock crank, 2.75 upper. Had all this hydro dipped. Hit all the factory vacuum lines behind the cowl panel, along with all of the fuel. It does have a 10 feed, 8 return. Has a Fuel Lab brushless pump. It's adjustable speed. It drives around at 50%. Full throttle, it goes to 100. All my fuel lines though are hidden, as well as my fuel pressure regulator is also behind the car. After having the car about 3 or 4 years, I was not happy at all with the factory paint. I took it to my uncle's shop. We stripped it completely down to bare metal. At that point, I put numerous hours and countless amounts of money in this thing. New fenders, new deck lid, new front window, new rear window, quarter panels redone, new rear bumper, new front bumper. Of course, had the hood already, but had it done also. I changed the color from the canary yellow to a more zinc yellow. I had a 2002 Mustang and I preferred that yellow over the canary. The car is very clean. It doesn't get driven very much, as far as it's definitely not a daily. Yeah, fuck LSX. As you can see, it is kept pretty tidy. Everything is all tucked and custom. I had all the interior pretty much redone. I took all the carpet out factory and replaced it with new. I put these Corbu seats in it. I absolutely love them. I've had them in 3 cars so far. They're by far my favorite. Old school, I like my gauges. Some people think it's overkill, but I have a, of course, water temp, oil pressure, AFR, boost gauge, and I also have a nitrous gauge, because for a while I did have nitrous as a backup. Currently have a Maximum Motorsport 4-point roll cage in it. It was necessary because I was starting to twist the chassis up, even on the street. I have the rear seat out currently because I'm doing a rear seat delete. It does have, I don't know if you can see, the battle boxes have been placed in it. It has a built 8.8 rear end, 31 spline axles, 31 spline diff, of course, carbon fiber clutch disc in the rear. It does very well. It's got a 355 gear. It's an amazing cruiser. I think that's probably my favorite aspect of the car. It was 5-speed after breaking TKO 600s, 3550s, T5s, you name it. None of them lasted. I finally had Darren Birch out of Indiana build me a AODE. I know that's not a popular choice. Most people go 4R70W, but AODE works really well for me. It's all controlled by a quick shift box. Of course, hidden. It is a very, very nice feature. That quick 4 box allows you complete adjustability of your tunes. I have a street tune. It's just like a stock car. I can drive it through town, public, everything. Also have a mild tune for when I'm out running around on the street and want a little more. It also has a track tune, 6,200 RPM shifts. I can shift it manually, or I can also, which is my favorite feature, I can add these buttons. I had a company out of Australia make me this handle, but these buttons are actually up and down shift, just like a new car. So I can upshift it and downshift it. I have line lock on it, of course, and that's the transmission temperature gauge. Those buttons you see here, this allows for, the one on the right is for the 4 separate tunes that I have in it. The middle button is for overdrive. I can turn overdrive on or off. And the button to the left is how I control the push button shift. There's other ways to do it, but the momentary button was my favorite, just because I know when I touch that I'm into push button shift, and if I touch it again, it's back into self-shifting mode. I use an old school 6 BTM box. I do not use it to control boost, but I found that this is the best as far as lasting. I've had this box quite a while. I know most of y'all know MSD, you know, they're good about leaving you stranded. I went through 6 different boxes before I got to this old school 6 BTM. It's been great. I've had no issues out of it, knock on wood. It's been very reliable. The transmission itself, back to the AODE, it has a precision 3500 stall. It drives amazing on the street. It's a lockup stall, so I am able to lock it up when I'm driving. With a 355 on the interstate, it runs 90 mile an hour. It's like 2,400 RPM. It is definitely a cruiser. We live in Bardstown, Kentucky. We've drove it to Bowling Green for the Nationals. I've drove it to Bowling Green Corvette Museum twice now. Me and my wife get it out. We like to take long cruises in it. It has working AC that's ice cold, has hot heat, all of those things that I had to have. It has a working DVD player. My wife likes to watch movies while we drive, so she'll put movies in. As far as overall transmission build, the transmission, like I said, Darren Birch built it, has aftermarket clutches, aftermarket stub shaft, aftermarket drum, upgraded. Everything internal is pretty much upgraded. It's capable of around 850 horsepower at the wheel, is what I was told. I have the build sheet. That may work for a while, I don't know. I have this motor on the stand that I built a year ago. Jamie Mattingly built it also, had a Mattingly's machine shop. Excellent work, extremely fast turnaround. I can't say enough about these guys. Never had an issue. Prices are second to none, you can't beat them. This is a 383 stroker, Windsor, old school 383, not a 393, 383. It'll be around 9.5, 10 to 1. It will have much bigger heads. It will have the vortech will be upgraded at that point to a YSI. Car currently makes mid 600s on Lee Blankenship's dyno at the wheel. It's a heavy pig. I mean, it's a driver. I've not really done anything to lose weight. Pretty much just gain. Drove it in the True Street Cruise this year. I've never before had it at the track ever. In all the years I've owned it, it's the only car I've ever owned that's never been to the track. In October, we drove it, did the True Street 30-mile cruise, come back. I sat in the line with the AC going because it was hot, and waited in line. You're not allowed to touch the car at that point. Only thing I did was hit the button and change the tune on the transmission to a more aggressive tune. I launched at 2,000 RPMs off the foot brake and shifted at 5,800, just because I wanted to make sure that I made it home and make sure that I made all 3 runs. It ran a 1090, the first pass it ever made, at 131, I believe, and then it went a 1070, and it ultimately, on the third and last pass of the night, it was around 210 degrees at that point. I hot lapped it. It ran a 1053, and I believe it was 133 or 135, I don't remember, mile an hour. I came home and discovered that I did have some belt slip. Tightened that up, made quite a bit of difference. Turn this charger off here, sorry. That did make quite a bit of difference. I was losing about 2 pounds of boost up top that I didn't realize when I was at the track. But overall, I was extremely pleased. I know some people say for all the money I have in it, should go faster. It will be a 9-second car with this setup. This motor is extremely basic setup. Anybody can build this motor. The pistons I bought off of eBay for $100. When I built the motor, they were forged TRW, they're heavy. The intake, I did some swapping. The heads are $700 can-filled heads. They have no port work, nothing done to them. They're just a set of $700 used heads that a guy down the street here had in my neighborhood, and I bolted them on. I do run E85. I have two tunes currently. I have a E85 tune, and it's what I drive it on 90% of the time. It runs fine, drives fine. Now, during the winter, I do like to dump the E85. I have a 93 gas tune that I usually fill it up and run about 2 tanks of gas through it. It seems to be keeping the injectors clean. I sent them off about a year ago to Eric Durr out of Bowling Green, and they were within like 2% of each other. They flowed like 97% of what their flow rate should have been. So, and they were like 4 years over that time. So I guess whatever I'm doing is working. Really, as far as the car goes, reliability has been amazing. I took my time when I was building it, made sure that I spent the money where it needs to be spent. But again, the vortech, I searched around until I found it. It was brand new in the box. The guy went to a turbo kit, paid $1,300 for that whole entire kit there, which I think is pretty good considering. I don't have a whole lot of money in the motor. I would say under $4,000 in the entire setup. And like I said, I've drove this thing for going on 9 years with this combination. It does get driven. It gets driven very hard on the street. I do not take it easy on this car in any way, shape, or form. There's multiple videos that shows how hard this car gets ran. I have never had the valve covers off. I adjusted the valves when we put the motor in. Just never had the valve covers off, knock on wood. I have never had to do anything besides a basic plug change. I have replaced one intake gasket one time. That was when I very first built the motor. I had to replace the rear intake gasket just because I didn't get a good bead. Otherwise, this thing has been rock solid. If it blew up in the morning, I could not be disappointed in this thing. It has never left me stranded. It has drove and ran and did everything I've ever asked it to do. I have shown several of the local guys Corvettes. I had a buddy build a turbo Trans Am that was LS1 built motor, single turbo. Was convinced that he was going to smoke this car. 4 videos showing how bad he got beat. Not saying it's the fastest thing around, but for what it is, it does its job. It's extremely torquey. On the dyno, it made 621 foot-pounds, but it made 540 foot-pounds by 3,200 RPMs, and it kept climbing, and it just levels off like a flat plateau. The car it works on the street. It just does what it's supposed to do. I have high hopes for this new motor setup that's going in it. The new motor, like I said, this motor made mid 600, 642 and 621 to be exact. I'm hoping the new motor will be north of 900, 850, 900 minimum. Maybe possibly push this thing into the 4-digit range. And it's going to be exactly like it is now. Power windows, locks, cruise, AC, power steering, heat. nothing's gonna change. It's gonna be exactly like it is. If I can't sit in traffic with it comfortably, have no interest in having it. The garage is empty today. Took a little Ranger I'm building. Kind of watch the channel. I'm gonna update that very shortly. I bought a Ranger 3 months ago, back in, I guess it was December, so it's been 4 months. It's April now. Bought it, bone stock, 2005 Ranger. Stripped it. It's going to paint next week. Actually, maybe this week. It's at the exhaust shop right now. I did just a 5.0 302 roller block, set up aluminum heads, air gap intake, 650 carb. It's going to have air conditioning, power windows, locks, well, power steering, roll-up windows. But it's going to be my new daily driver. Got a T5 in it. Should look really well when it's done. It's going to be a step side, short wheelbase, single cab, 2-wheel drive. Probably going to pull these wheels and tires off. They've been on here a couple years. I don't keep wheels and tires very long. I like to swap them out, like new look. So I'll probably put these on the truck and find me a new setup for this car. Not sure what I'm gonna go with yet, but the good thing is the back spacing is identical on these this 05 Ranger to this, so everything should work out great. But keep an eye out, because that little truck is probably my favorite build I've ever done. I've really enjoyed it, and I think the reason I've enjoyed it so much is my 6-year-old, getting ready to be 7, has helped me out on it. He wanted to build something because this car was about done by the time he was born. Really have enjoyed the build. He's active in it. It will actually be his truck. We're building it for him. When he turns 16, if he wants that truck, it'll be his. He can drive it. By then, I'm sure everything will be electric, and our president will have gotten rid of this shit. But if it's still here, he'll get to drive it. It'll be his truck. This car will go to one of the boys. I've got a 7 and a 4-year-old, or 6 and a 4, almost 7. And when something happens to me, they'll go to them. One of them, whoever decides they want it, and the truck will go to the other. So, and I'm sure I'll build something else by then. This has been a long project. Like I said, I've got a lot of time, a lot of money. Underneath the car is as clean as the top. Honestly, I spent a lot of time underneath. It's got mid-leaf headers, 3-inch exhaust all the way back, and then dumps. It did have tailpipes. When I loaded it on a car trailer, they would drag and going over speed bumps. The 3-inch, it doesn't leave much room as low as this car sits. So they're off for now. I'm probably gonna have my local exhaust guy make me a set of oval style that are flatter that I can run them out the back. I love the way the car sounds with a full exhaust with the tailpipes. It just sounds so clean and crisp. But I don't know if I can get a picture underneath the car. I doubt it. You know, it's just X-pipe. The rear end is an 8.8. Like I said, it's braced in welded tubes. It does very well. No problems there. I did upgrade to Cobra front calipers and rotors, just due to the fact that the stock ones were starting to get a little sketchy. Did make the decision about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, to ditch the ABS at 100 plus. It just, I don't know, I just did not like the feel of it. They grab it and lock it up the way it felt. So I went back to old school. I left the power brakes, but I did bypass the ABS and got rid of the ABS block. And at that time, I went ahead and put the roll control or the line lock on it. I've been very happy with that decision. It still stops fine. I don't drive it in the rain, so I'm not worried about anti-lock in the rain. But at the track, it was very stable, and on the street, it's much more stable. So, anyways, that's it in a nutshell. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions, drop me a comment there, and I'll try to answer what I can. Try to subscribe and like. Plan on adding more and more to this channel as it goes. I'm gonna upload some racing videos. As you can see, I keep GoPros on it for the most part, and I keep intending to run it all the time, of course. But yeah, please smash that like and subscribe. I'll keep you updated. Thank you, guys.